Hello and welcome to my video presentation on participant observation as a research method. Okay, so the aims and objectives of this video presentation will include an overview of observational research as a whole, and more specifically participant observation as a key type of observation. General discussion of the strengths and limitations of participant observation, examples of previous good practice, the role of technology and other similar issues, and finally a summary. So let's start off with some definitions of what exactly observational research is. The California State University gives a clear and concise explanation by stating that observational research is simply a type of correlational research, which basically means research that tests for statistical relationships between variables in which a researcher may observe ongoing behaviour of a subject or subjects. McCuen in 1996 furthers this by noting that two key aspects of observation are observation to define a problem and observation to collect data or recognise effects that occur during research. Observational research tends to be classified into two broad types, which are participant observation and structured observation. For this presentation, we're going to solely focus on participant observation, as I personally feel this is a more common and pertinent technique, and I'm also restricted by time for the assignment that I'm creating this presentation for. Participant observation is where the researching observer places his or herself within the social setting being investigated. As William Zickman noted, this allows the observer to have first-hand knowledge and understanding of participants' actions and reactions through personal relation of the feelings gained from the situational environment. The observer can therefore use findings and potentially piece together any correlational hypotheses. As McCuen also noted, all types of observational research require a highly skilled researcher who has been suitably trained with special knowledge and skills along with a critical mind to give impartial and reasonable conclusions, which will in turn improve the validity and reliability of the methodology. I'll cover this in more detail when I go through the strengths and limitations of this research method as a whole later on. The clarity of the role of participant observers is vital in observational research. In 2002, Gill and Johnson produced a categorization model that breaks the potential personas of the observer into four options, with Saunders et al. Continuing the analysis in 2009. You can see a summary table of this on the right hand side of your screen now. The first is a complete participant role. This is where the researcher would attempt to become a member of the group in which the research is being performed without revealing the true purpose of the group to the group members. This does raise some ethical issues, as it would be hard to gain full informed consent from participants if they are not fully aware of the reasons for the research. Also, if a topic that is being researched is controversial or may directly affect the participants, they may not be completely truthful in their actions, as they are aware of being scrutinised. This is known as the Hawthorne effect. The complete observer role is similar to the complete participant role in the sense that you would again not reveal the true purpose of your activity to the observees, which again creates ethical issues. However, in this case, you would not take part in the group activities. This unobtrusiveness, along with the added level of concentration on other people's activities, means that this method is often favoured by observational researchers. However, there is the threat of desensitisation, i.e. the observer may not be able to give an educated conclusion to the findings observed, as he or she is not immersed in the activity being researched, so has little first-hand experience. The observer's participant role again does not require the researcher to take part in activities set for the sample group, but this time participants are fully informed of the researcher's identity. Much like in the complete observer role, the researcher can focus all of his or her energy into observing, rather than being sidetracked by completing the activities personally. However, this again removes what Saunders et al. Called the emotional involvement of the researcher, knowing what it feels like to be on the receiving end of the experience. In the participant as observer role, the researcher again reveals his or her purpose, but also takes part in the activities alongside the participants. All subjects are fully aware of the situation, and it's vital that the researcher gains full trust of the group to give findings as much depth and value as possible, as not only will trusting participants act more naturally, again increasing the validity and reliability, but insights that may otherwise be unobtainable may be found. However, similarly to the complete participant role, the researcher joining in on the activity may prevent insights being noted at that time. Retrospective insights from the researcher may be subject to observer bias if a personal relationship has been formed with participants, and certainly behaviours previously noted may well have been forgotten. Participant observation has been used extensively for many years, and one of the pioneers of this was a man called William Whyte. He lived in a Boston slum in the late 1930s for 3 years to observe the living culture of the local community, and later published his findings in a book titled Street Corner Society. This is a prime example of observation taking place through the researcher taking an active part in the topics being researched to gain a deeper insight. Similarly, D. Roy conducted a study in 1952 in which he worked as an employee in a machine shop for 10 months to investigate co-workers' opinions of the piecework bonus system. This shows the value of gaining participant trust to obtain more qualitative analysis. Well, as is the same with everything in the world now, technology is having an increasingly important influence on the way that participant observation is now being conducted. Hopefully, an important benefit of the development of recording capabilities, for example, will help observational studies to improve rather than be hindered. A good use happened in 2005 when Roger Penn utilised photos of football crowds to compare the behaviour of fans in England and Italy. The development of the internet also needs to be considered for observational research, as this may change the routes that need to be taken in terms of obtaining a full consent of participants, as well as maintaining the confidentiality agreement. In line with this, new legislation may alter the potential to complete certain observational research. For example, it would be unlikely that D. Roy would be able to work in a machine factory as he did previously straight away now without gaining proper training, which may have a negative effect on the potential to complete the research in the time frame required. Okay, so to summarise, the strengths of participant observation. It's clear that this research method can produce highly detailed qualitative data that can be used for both current and future work. There is very little data that cannot be considered useful, as most participant observation studies have high ecological validity, which address current social trends and correlations. Certain types of participant observation, namely complete participant and participant as observer roles, give researchers a first-hand primary insight to the topics being observed, which in turn give more substance to the interpretations that they make. The usefulness of observational studies in the workplace can help companies improve in a variety of areas, for example, understanding the personal insights of all different kinds of demographics. The limitations of participant observation are that these studies can be highly unreliable. This is mainly due to the threat of observer bias, where the observer may be influenced to interpret qualitative data in a certain way due to personal opinions created through building relationships with participants during the study. This can also lead to something called role conflict, where the observer is struggling to keep his role as a researcher separate from his relationship with the sample group. Delbridge and Kirkpatrick note that because we are part of the social world that we are studying, we cannot detach ourselves from it, and this is particularly evident in many studies of this nature. There are constant ethical threats seen throughout observational methodology, especially in areas such as informed consent and deceit, when the observer anonymously enters a social environment. Lastly, many observational studies can create a strain on resources of staff, time and funding for areas such as training.